Hello, everyone. Welcome to Inside the Americas. I'm Jeannie Godula. Coming up, Donald Trump defends his ties with Saudi Arabia despite international condemnation over the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. As the migrant caravan moves up from Central America to the U.S.-Mexico border, we'll meet some Americans who've taken matters into their own hands. And when the Miss Universe beauty pageant takes place a few weeks from now, Miss Chile will be Venezuelan. She's just the latest in the thousands who've left their home country in search of a better life. First, the chairman of the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee is demanding Donald Trump clarify whether or not the Saudi crown prince was behind the murder of reporter Jamal Khashoggi. That's after the Washington Post, the paper the journalist worked for, reported the CIA had concluded Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman did order the assassination. But this week, President Trump made no signal that he would pursue strong action against the Saudi prince, saying the benefits of having good relations with the oil-rich nation outweigh the rest. Nicholas Rushworth reports.
The U.S. President Donald Trump says he will maintain ties with Riyadh, that despite an intelligence report implicating Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in the murder of the Washington Post journalist and Saudi critic Jamal Khashoggi.
The CIA has looked at it, they've studied it a lot, they have nothing definitive, and the fact is, maybe he did, maybe he didn't.
He says $450 billion of Saudi investment in the U.S. is at stake.
We're not going to give up hundreds of billions of dollars in orders and let Russia, China, and everybody else have them. It's all about, for me, very simple, it's America first.
His written statement on ties with Saudi Arabia begins with an attack on Iran, which Trump says is responsible for the war in Yemen and props up Syria's Bashar al-Assad. His stance drew swift criticism from around the world, including from the Washington Post, which says for Trump, money takes precedence over human rights. One D.C.-based analyst says Trump's response is nothing more than a presidential pardon and a slap in the face to the intelligence community.
He undermines the credibility of the United States in a part of the world where that credibility is already diminished almost to zero by, issuing this superficial statement that makes the United States look more like a banana republic rather than a superpower.
Trump, meanwhile, says he may meet Mohammed bin Salman at next week's G20 meeting in Argentina if the Crown Prince attends.
There's been another court setback for the Trump administration's efforts to impose new immigration restrictions without congressional approval. This week, an American judge ordered the U.S. government not to enforce a ban on asylum for people who cross the southern border illegally. Thousands of migrants from Central America have made their way to the Mexican border, hoping to gain asylum in the U.S. Washington has increased security at border crossings there, with Donald Trump claiming there are criminals in the group, something NGOs contradict. But the growing flow of migrants has led some U.S. citizens to now take matters into their own hands, with volunteer militia groups patrolling the border.
Robert Crooks is a retired salesman who goes to the border each day to keep watch. He is a member of the Mountain Minutemen militia, also known as the Patriot Point Posse. He's patrolling an area just 50 kilometers from the Mexican city of Tijuana, where several thousand migrants arrived recently with the aim of getting to the U.S. If he sees a migrant, he informs border police and tries to deter them.
Go home. It's over. Donald Trump's president. Obama's not in no more. It's over.
On patrol, he comes across a border police officer.
Catch it shift change?
Not yet.
The authorities cannot stop him from patrolling or from being armed, but they have said that the Vigilantes are a problem for them. Further on, he meets another Mountain Minuteman. They put drug traffickers and the people in migrant caravans in the same bag.
I haven't had any good experiences with these people by and large, and 90% of the Hispanics I know they're not good.
This is another vigilante group, the Arizona State Militia, which acts more like an army with rankings, uniforms, and weaponry. The local sheriff does not welcome their presence on Arizona's border with Mexico, but they say they're not breaking the law.
But it's okay to politically correct, call us racist and everything else. That's all right. I prefer the term domestic extremist. Because if getting off the couch and doing something is extreme, then yeah, I'm an extremist.
They train even though they have no authority to make arrests, let alone shoot at people.
Let's take a look at some other news now this week in the U.S. Donald Trump may have slammed Hillary Clinton over her emails during the presidential campaign, but now his own daughter is being hit with a similar scandal. A nonpartisan watchdog group says Ivanka Trump used a personal email account last year to send hundreds of messages linked to official White House business. Republicans and Democrats on Capitol Hill will now be scrutinizing her personal email use. President Trump defending his daughter, though, saying the mails weren't classified or deleted, and rejecting the parallels between Ivanka and Hillary as fake news. Also this week, the White House abandoned its plans to bar CNN reporter Jim Acosta. He got his press pass back after a 2-week dispute that followed a press conference where Acosta's persistent questions angered the president. As a result, CNN has dropped its lawsuit on the matter, which had turned into a test of press freedoms. The Trump administration, however, has now laid out new rules requiring all reporters to yield the floor after a single question during a press conference. And the death toll from the Camp Fire in California is over 80 dead, with close to 900 still missing. The area can expect a small respite soon, though, in the form of much-needed rain. But that could provoke more trouble with mud and landslides. And if that's not bad enough, Northern California's San Francisco, Stockton, and Sacramento have topped the list of the world's most polluted cities due to the continuing ash and smoke. Our picture of the week comes from Guatemala. This is the so-called Volcano of Fire. It erupted this week, sending boiling lava and ash flying almost 2 miles from its top and forcing thousands of villagers to flee. The volcano is among the most active in Central America, and an eruption in June ended up burying entire villages caught unaware, leaving hundreds dead. Now, the Miss Universe pageant is just a few weeks away, but this year, Miss Chile actually comes from Venezuela. Her name is Andrea Diaz, and she is just one of the over 2 million Venezuelans who have already left the country, fleeing the economic crisis there. And as our reporters found out, she's not the only beauty queen to have done so.
At this beauty queen boot camp in Caracas, every slightest movement is broken down and sculpted to perfection, as each student dreams of the Miss World or even Miss Universe tiara placed on her head. But Venezuela is no longer the right place to make that dream a reality.
There's plenty of talent here, but unfortunately they can't put their skills to use here in Venezuela because there are no work opportunities, so they're forced to go elsewhere.
In 10 years, more than 2/3 of pupils at this school have left the country. Despite its sparkling reputation when it comes to producing beauty queens, the crowning of Miss Venezuela, a source of national pride for many, often beats TV audience records. Like many Venezuelans, Andrea fled the economic crisis and made a new life for herself in Chile 3 years ago. Far from Venezuela's more rigid and traditional expectations, she was chosen to represent her adoptive country in the Miss Universe pageant this December.
I had an accident. My face was burned with acid, which left scars. I became depressed and stopped believing in my dreams for a while. But here in Chile, I've been accepted as I am.
The departure of Venezuela's beauty queens has hit the economy hard. The country's pageant industry is estimated at a value of several $billions. Boasting 6 Miss Worlds and 7 Miss Universes, Venezuela has easily beaten all international records. But it seems other countries will now have their turn to shine as Venezuela's economic crisis pushes out one of its most important industries.
This week marked Thanksgiving, one of the biggest holidays in the U.S. of A. Families gather near and far to remember the first time the Pilgrims made it through an American winter. But Thanksgiving is mostly about the food: stuffing, cranberry sauce, pecan and pumpkin pies, and above all, turkey. And while at least one turkey gets a traditional presidential pardon every year, that's not the case for the rest of them. The National Turkey Federation says some 46 million of the birds are eaten at Thanksgiving every year. Well, that's all the time we have for this Inside the Americas. We'll see you again next week for all the news from north to south.